Good morning, everyone. We can come in, we'll get started here in a few. Grab our breakfast, drinks, Cedric will get started. I got quiet really quickly after doing that. It's a very beautiful day. We do thank Caterpillar for hosting very much. A lot of really great presentations we're looking forward to here shortly. I'll give it just a minute, maybe with a few people finishing and getting settled. And then we'll start the opening and some presentation and start our day. There is a number of people on Zoom, so we welcome you too. I'm very glad that you can join us this way and still get to share in the pollution prevention activities and the presentations. Right, so if you have an agenda or if you're looking at on that electronically, there's been a change in order. So Justin Fuller, he'll introduce his team and those presentations for that. So we'll all be able to follow along just fine there. On the agenda electronically or on your table is a evaluation form. Not always the most favorite, but it really does give us some good advice. That we can make some changes or have things based on needs in that like that. So please remember to do that if you have time for that. So the executive committee, I do appreciate everybody helping to put this on. Jean Fix managed and coordinated with that. On the screen is the executive committee. If you guys would like to stand real quick, I'd like to acknowledge the efforts for those. Great, thank you. All right, so currently there's I'm having problems with this. I'm showing my age with it's the down. Thank you. Showing my age with technology. So we currently have 99 current members and partners across the whole state. Always looking for more like-minded companies to be able to benchmark and share, coordinate, host even really eye-opening things when I get to see them in person that we do. If you're not yet a member, you're welcome to be. It is free. Just some have to attend a couple quarterly meetings. We recommend the conference. And then there's an annual APR where you get to talk about your pollution prevention activities and things that you've accomplished for that. So those are easy to do. You can see me, anyone on the executive committee or on the item webpage for that. So I said already, the free okay. So some things that we're trying to do is get more of the word out using more of our social media. The LinkedIn group, if you're not already, if you're a LinkedIn user, you can follow other partners. We like to share things, have our partners share things on there, just to kind of get that word out in between our quarterly and things. We've started this year a Twitter site, if that is something that you do, also to follow there and post. And also inviting business colleagues, other companies to attend and join the group. So they are free, just registration to make sure we can plan accordingly. But definitely invite other people to do that. And then also you can help by distributing partners materials and that sort. So on the item page, these slides are available too. So if you needed those links or see me, of course. So another page that saves the I'll just talk very loud. The annual conference, we're doing rebranding sustainability. There'll be a lot more information to come. on what that means and what to see. We have a very exciting keynote speaker, number of activities for that. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and register. Early bird, it's a discount for that. Full day of lots of activities. You can also get CEUs, meet a number of exhibitors and vendors. You have projects with your company. And you can also be a sponsor if you'd like that for more showing partnership for this activity. A couple more notes, just save your dates. We're still working on a December quarterly. And if you have an interest for that, it's we're looking for another host, just like Caterpillar is doing today. Our third quarter will be the conference. Okay. So thanks again, Caterpillar, for hosting. We're very excited to see all of the stories and get to tour. I want to introduce Justin Fuller.
If we get this thing back on. No.
I swear I didn't brush it.
Yeah, that worked last night. Okay. I think my voice carries pretty well, so we'll do the best we can. Can you hear me back there? Thumbs up. Great. All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to host this event. I've been with the partners in a couple different places over the years, and it's just been a great group to work with the networking and looking to you know, see all the struggles and the successes that we all share together with the sustainability efforts and recycling and things like that. So definitely happy that we have this opportunity today. One thing that Teresa mentioned, we do have a switch on the agenda, and that after I'm done presenting here, Dan Campion will be presenting, and then Lindsay Delp will be presenting after the break. So, okay, so we'll go ahead. Let me pull up my presentation here. I think this one works. Yes. No. Oh, hey. Come on. Okay, so we're going to talk about Caterpillar a lot today. Kind of our day in the spotlight to get to show off a little bit. So right down the street, we have our plant. It's 1.5 million square feet under roof. Just a gigantic place. We've got over 1,700 employees, 250 acres of land, and sprawling across that land is quite a few outbuildings. We have our main factory where we build all of our engines. So half of that plant is a machining process, the other half is an assembly process. Parts come in one end and go out the other. It's an amazing place, and you'll be able to see that a little bit on the tour today if you're able to make that. So from an environmental standpoint, you can imagine, we make engines, we test them, we have a lot of different parts and pieces moving together. So we do, we're a Title V facility. We have our own wastewater plant. We've got a pre-treatment permit, so we've got a Class D wastewater plant. We are a large quantity generator status, so you can imagine from a compliance standpoint, we've got a lot of record keeping and monitoring, and a lot of opportunities to reduce. And so we're going to talk a a lot about that today, some of our success stories. We also have an interesting fact about the facility. We've got an endurance pad. So the engines we make, we do a lot of testing of those engines, and we have an area where we're able to run those engines, you know, a lot of the day. We're able to use that power and recycle it back into our own facility. So just kind of a neat little addition to that. So. Caterpillar at a glance, over 4 million machines and engines in active use today. We are in industries, 18 different industries across the globe: construction, mining, electric power, oil and gas. I'm sure you can see the product of that if you had to travel 65 today, or if you've been on 465 lately. It's construction and CAT equipment. It's a great way to advertise, you know, but it makes it really hard to get from one place to the other. But you see it everywhere. 107,000 employees globally, 172,000 just dealer employees around the world. And it really helps our service industry. So when you buy a CAT product, we have people in places to help maintain those products when things go wrong. So, and so you can see here a couple of our engine models. We have the that large one at the top, the 3600 engine. Interesting application for that. We had a third world power generation. So I have a employee working for me. He worked on these engines for years and years, and he had the opportunity to travel around the world to service these. So interesting stories like Papua New Guinea. He'd go out, you know, in far remote regions and get things working when they broke down. So just kind of a testament to how far we go to make sure our service is there. So neat stories there. The 3500 engines. So if you remember a couple years ago, we had the USNS Comfort at New York was towed in during COVID to give some relief to New York. So that boat that was towing that ship in to port was powered by two 3516 engines. So interesting application there. The smaller engines, you'll see them in smaller equipment, shrimp boats and smaller equipment that they see on the highway. So, and finally the C-175, and that is in our 797, our big honking earth mover that you see a lot of times. The thing is gigantic. If you ever make it to the CAT Museum in Peoria, Illinois, you'll get to see one of these. They've actually installed a movie theater in the back. Years ago, like theaters seating in it, and they show a movie. You know, pretty cool. I had a chance to visit, and you can kind of see that it's a very large machine. If you ever get a chance to go out there, make sure you get a look at that. Okay, on to the nuts and bolts of what we're talking about today. So I'll be talking about our facility here in Lafayette, some of our success stories, what we're doing to reduce our carbon footprint, some of the efforts that we've made. We'll have another presentation later on that's going to talk about Caterpillar as a whole, sustainability wise, and our outlook on sustainability for the future. And then we have another presentation that's going to talk about some of the technologies that we're getting into as far as renewable fuels and things of that nature. So we're a landfill-free facility. We found we do a lot of waste to energy. Anytime we have something come up where we have a waste that we're not expecting, or maybe there's not a good answer for, we always try to make sure that we find a good place that's not a landfill for those materials. We'll talk a little bit about some greenhouse gas reductions. We've got a couple new projects with reclaiming solvent to reduce our hazardous waste. Taking old materials and finding new homes for them out in the world and different aspects. So the first one I'd like to talk about is the solvent reclamation. So we have a paint process. You can see, on our engines, we paint them, you see the cat yellow. And so we paint those right inside the factory. And our process, it takes, when we clean our paint guns and things like that, we have to purge. If you have a painting process, you probably know you've got to purge the lines to keep the paint from setting up inside the lines. And so we use a lot of solvent with our paint. And historically, that solvent and paint, it goes in a drum. And we would send it out to have the solvent reclaimed. We would buy the solvent back, and then the paint would go out as hazardous waste. Or it was actually everything in the drum would go out as hazardous waste. So, a couple years ago, we looked into distilling our own solvent. So we got this unit here. You can see we decreased our carbon footprint by taking these trucks off the road that are you're hauling solvent and paint down the road. The less you can do that, the better. So we're taking trucks off the road. It was like a 3-hour trip from the plant to get this process done. So big win there. And then outside of that, I'll get into the savings a little bit. When you reclaim your own solvent, you get to use it again, right? You don't have to buy it again and again. But this is the process. It's quick and dirty, right? So dirty solvent in and clean solvent out. I mean, it's as simple as that. So you can kind of see this is basically how our process is set up. We've got the waste solvent, and then it gets cleaned up and goes back into clean rooms. Pumped into a 30-gallon vat. It's heated to the temperature at which your solvent needs to be heated to evaporate. It'll go through a couple different processes. It is condensed, and then it goes into the clean drums. One thing to watch out for if you decide to do this, you will you'll have still bottoms, right? So you're taking the solvent out of the paint. Anything that's left inside the bottom of that vat is likely still going to be hazardous waste. Really safe to use these new solvent stills. It's like indirect heat. So you've got a coil tube that heats up, with oil, and it heats the vat. So you don't really have direct heat touching paint or solvent. It's under pressure, so the temperatures don't have to be so high to evaporate your solvent. So definitely a safer process these days. In doing this, we were able to reduce our hazardous waste by 76%. And so in the state of Indiana, we're able to, when you're not sending this out as hazardous waste, you're still getting these drums of paint and solvent, but it's secondary hazardous material, and you're able to recycle that on site. So we're able to reduce our hazardous waste by 76%. The year we put in that solvent still, we didn't have to buy 1 drum of virgin solvent. So we were able to take everything we had and just reuse it, and you use it again and again and again. You just keep distilling. Eventually you have to put virgin solvent in to replenish the constituents. You'll start seeing it get a little bit yellow, or whatever color we painted that day. And then just from taking trucks off the road, we had 5.95 metric tons of CO2 reduction from that project. So that was a big win for us. So you hear about boneyard materials, you have these industry for maybe you made a sale of whatever it is you're manufacturing, and you get returns, or you have a sale fall through, or you got things you built that are left over, and machines coming out of your shop that are old, and need to be renewed or repurchased. So, we have a lot of materials that get shuffled around. And so you end up having a lot of things left over. And there's a lot of places in the world that, need things that, a lot of places would normally scrap. So we've gotten really good at building a network, a global network of Caterpillar customers who are dying to get their hands on stuff, right, that normally would go to a scrapyard, right? And so scrapyard values, they're low. You don't want to really, it's not sustainable. It's, it's the more you can reuse and reuse and reuse, the better it is. And so we've got really good at finding homes for things that would normally go to a scrapyard. And so just last year doing this, we were able to salvage 33 tons of material, and it was distributed to CAT customers around the world. It takes work to build that network and to find those places that can use those things. But at the end of the day, it's way better. And when you're talking value, scrap value, you'll get, pennies on the dollar for, every ton of metal that you send out. This gives you, in our experience, 40 times that value, what you would get out of a scrap yard. So, again, as far as being circular, this has been a great program for us. And so we get to waste, wood waste, packaging, things like that. Everybody deals with it, it's when you get parts in, you can imagine we build giant engines, and so it comes with giant packaging, and it's just a ton of stuff. And so we have the plastics and the cardboards, the wood, things of that nature. So one thing we had an extreme amount of was wood waste. Our generators come on pallets, or blocks, and things of that nature. There's different parts and pieces come on giant pallets, whatever it may be. And so historically, we always shipped it out, waste energy, and we still do that to, a big extent. But what we were doing was just not very efficient. And we would, as you can see here, in the bottom left corner, we would fill roll-offs or dumpsters, 40-yard roll-offs with wood waste. We take a forklift and dump it with it. You get a lot of space in those roll-offs. It's not, you don't get a lot of density in those loads as you're loading them up. And so you get like 1 to 2 tons per load. And so we're shipping 4 of these out a day, right? So 20 roll-offs a week of just wood waste. And so what we did, we purchased a wood auger. And what that did was increase the density of the loads that we're shipping out. Same size container, but instead of shipping out 1 to 2 loads, or 1 to 2 tons per load, we're shipping out 8 to 10 tons, at a time. And that went from 20 loads per week to 3, right? So, in doing that, we were able to reduce almost by 100 metric tons of greenhouse gas per year. And the bonus is, these are so efficient that something to say. They're so efficient that the ROI, was 7 months on this. It paid for itself in 7 months. Sometimes it's hard to get that, with capital, allocations and things like that. It's hard to get money towards sustainable efforts, right? Because that's the nature of the beast. But these types of projects, they really make the company, so another big one. You can also use these for cardboard and other things. It's not just wood. It really a very efficient process. And we have more wood. So we have with big engines come big crankshafts. So we have these big crankshaft boxes that we get, and people love this type of packaging, right? They can use it. They can take it home and they can build decks and walls and sheds and all kinds of things. And so we actually had a really good project that we started a scrap wood program years ago, right? And so we let the employees of the facility come after work or whenever they get off, and they pull around to our wood storage area, and they can load up their trucks and their trailers, take the wood home. It is I probably get rid of 20,000 pounds of wood a week just from people needing it. And wood prices these days, I mean, it's just a great benefit to the employees and to our sustainability efforts. So you find out that you have a lot of creative people. We actually had the Journal and Courier in Lafayette come in and they did a story on it, and I think Jan may have do something on it a couple years ago, but yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but we have so many talented people doing so many things. My favorite one is the one in the middle here. We actually had somebody who had a debilitating sickness. He wasn't able to come to work, and they built him a new barn out in his yard. Just employees, they took the wood from our scrap and they went out and built him a new barn, you know, just from our stuff. It's a great story. But you see chicken coops, and you've got planter boxes and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a program that I just can't say enough about. People love us. And so again, another big win for the facility. So that went a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to. Last but not least, this is something that we talk about every day, every meeting. You know, Caterpillar, one of the things I love about the place that I work is it's Caterpillar is a company that does the right things for the right reasons. You know, they put towards, you know, the money and the effort to reduce carbon, you know, to be a good neighbor, you know, and I feel like we really do things the right way. You have a group of management, and I know my management's sitting here, and I'm not just trying to get anything out, but they really do things for the right reason. And it's a really feel good kind of place, you know. So to be in a spot like that, it's a good feeling where you can go home every day and sleep knowing that you have done things for the right reasons. Right? So, any questions? Yeah.
Maybe this is later on, but we're not aware of something like that. Do you want to get in, we already wish the rep would give away?
So the question was if we had to get legal involved with the scrap wood giveaway, and the answer is yes, right? So there's a waiver process that they go through that we've got. They go through and they'll sign, you know, liability form, damage trucks and things like that, you know. But yeah, we did have to have some involvement with them to make it work out. But yeah, I think all in all, it's a program. And actually, in addition to that, I forgot to mention it. We've added a rain barrel program to go with the food program, so we get a lot of drones. So I don't know who won the governor's report for it was last year. Monticello, right? And they had that, so I kind of stole from them a little bit. So
borrowed from that.
yeah, maybe borrow.
All in Monticello.
Okay, I remember. I thought it was a canning factory or something like that. I think, but yeah, from that last meeting that I went to that had that, we use that. We have these distilled water drums that we have. And we get about 50 of them a year or so. And so to add to the wood program, we've added rain barrels to that as well. So distilled water seems to be a pretty safe drum to use, you know, for whatever people need for their animal and the crops and things like that. So we added that in.
We have one online question. Can you say who manufactured the solvent still?
The solvent still?
Mhm.
Yeah, have them email me and we'll do it that way.
Sure.
Justin.
Yeah.
thought I recollected you talking about expanding your solvent reclamation to maybe other solvent uses.
Yeah, so we do. I just had a conversation about that the other day. The question was expanding our solvent reclamation to other things. We do use another solvent in the factory, for, cleaning parts. So you see, we've got tanks that range from 5 gallons to 200 gallons that are just, straight solvent cleaners to clean off oil and tools and things like that. A lot of job shop type applications to that as well, but yeah, it's kind of a run of the mill solvent, and we do the same process with that. We have somebody come in and they take the solvent out, they replace it with new solvent, they go out, they recycle it, and then we buy it back, and it's that whole vicious cycle again of buying back the stuff you've already purchased 100 times. So yes, it's one of those things that we haven't done yet, but I think we're in the right place now where we have the right personnel to probably be able to pursue that. So hopefully that could be a definite 2024 project. Other questions?
Well, this may be a later presentation.
Uh-huh.
I'm very excited about this opportunity is the methane hydrogen blending.
Right.
And are you selling engines now that are capable of burning the methane hydrogen?
So I can't speak to the methane, but we are selling engines that can run on hydrogen. We're in heavy test mode with that throughout the enterprise, right? So there's a lot that goes into that. But yes, we are well into the testing aspects of using hydrogen and different aspects of hydrogen cells and things like that in Caterpillar as a whole. Go ahead. Yeah. So it's only open to the employees. We have some on-site contractors we open it up to as well. But I think we've given some to the local fire departments, things like that. So we've taken some special requests from different places. It's a great program, so we try to be as flexible as we can. Anything else? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody giving me the time to present. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Really lucky to have him here today. His name is Dan Campion. He is one of the vice presidents of Caterpillar. He's new in from California, and just has provided great leadership to us, and really lucky to have him speak today. He's going to talk a bit about sustainability, Caterpillar sustainability from an enterprise perspective. So what that looks like from his chair. So everybody, welcome, Dane.
You're okay? Yeah. All right, I probably end up walking around a little bit and see. So really, I've only got about only 12, 13 slides. I'll get through that content. Ask your questions as we go if you want. I think we're okay for time. I certainly didn't plan on filling it with 30 minutes of download. Just a little about myself. So 35 years I've been sort of chasing parts in industry. Most recently had the opportunity, I just spent 20 years out in San Diego with Solar Turbines. So basically been making industrial gas turbines, and I saw the question came up around sort of methane and hydrogen. we certainly burn methane all day long and have spent, solar's 98 years old as a company, been in the industrial gas turbine business now for almost 70 years. So, and hydrogen, our products have the capability on the turbine side. We have two flavors, conventional combustion and sort of a super low emissions combustion, and we can burn 100% hydrogen on the conventional combustion side. So, hydrogen is an interesting fuel. But you see my background there. I spent a little bit of time in the military. I've worked I'm a little different in the Caterpillar space, right? I've worked for a handful of other places. I sort of joined Caterpillar as a mid-career hire. I worked for a bunch of small companies, and I won't get into the detail, but I actually quit one, that Products Engineering Corporation. I walked in one day and I've worked there for years and trying to sort of bring them into, at that point, I don't know, kind of the late 80s, if you will, from a technology point of view. And they did some things that I was not happy about environmentally. So I just walked in and resigned and walked out the door. And luckily enough, landed a job at Allied Signals. So, I've spent a career trying to, just like you saw before, figure out sort of faster, better, cheaper, and how to do things cleaner along the way. I would say my relevant experience in solar turbines, I had the turbine engineering and our gas compressor organization reported up through me. So really had the opportunity to weigh in. We invested, give or take, about $200 million a year in our, sort of research and development area. And I've just seen a lot of amazing engine programs, trying to, in other words, just trying to help our customers with a more fuel efficient product, with a lower emissions type product, with a much sort of higher fuel flexibility product, and then never mind just having facilities. I had accountability for our main facility in San Diego. We have facilities in Tijuana, the Czech Republic, Texas. So I've spent a lot of my career encouraging and authorizing different projects where we've had to invest money to kind of clean things up, make things safer for our employees, things like that. So I'm a huge proponent. So quite honestly, really happy to have the opportunity here today to come and talk. Now, if you look more broadly at Caterpillar, just such an interesting opportunity because, not unique as a manufacturer, if you will. There's plenty of manufacturing companies out there, but we have a wonderful opportunity both as we clean up, make safer, make more efficient, make less polluting, if you will, our internal operations. We've got 100,000 people inside the company, around the world. I had the honor of leading about 4,000 of them out in solar turbines, but we have a wonderful amount of leverage as an enterprise through our products in the hands of our customers to make a big difference as well. And as you can see up there, we've been really, from a Caterpillar point of view, and I could easily put up an equivalent solar turbines pipeline. Solar turbines, the Spirit of St. Louis was built at our Harbor Drive facility. So just a deep history in solar, in Caterpillar, for really working hard and making major investments in partnership with our customers, if you will, trying to stay close to the customer. What do they need? How do we help them be successful in their industry? And then how do we use some of that technology in our own facilities as well? So tremendous amounts of accomplishment sort of over the decade. And there is a real push, as you can imagine, on the electrification side as well. So a real pivot from a technology point of view, really trying to, and I think what you'll see is leaning on natural gas, leaning on hydrogen as the world sort of, if you think about it today, you can debate the exact number. It's a difficult number, but there's give or take 2 billion people on the planet who still burn animal dung for fuel, and it kills tens of millions of people a year from indoor pollution, from basically burning cow patties to generate heat to do basic food cooking and things like that. So as we get the opportunity to start to replace that, as liquefied natural gas becomes more of a global commodity, just tremendous opportunities to make sure that we can provide globally, affordable energy. There's billions of people who would love a small refrigerator, who would love electricity 24 hours a day. There was the Papua New Guinea, right? We have a lot of turbines in Papua New Guinea, and it's amazing when you see the stories about, global rural places get their first taste of having electricity, if even only for a couple hours a day, and what it does to the health and the standard of living, the ability to generate clean water and all those things that go with it. So I for one, it's there's those that will say, oh, you work for a place like Caterpillar or Polluter. The internal view of that is, we are really investing billions of dollars annually to enable technologies that make things better for the future. Okay, so very proud to be part of the organization. And it really is, we have you see sort of top right-hand corner or top left-hand corner as you would look at it. We have our strategy wheel, and a number of years ago, I think it's been the better part of a decade now, we've had sustainability as part of that. So a huge corporate focus on sustainability, certainly from the safety, well-being of our own employees inside our operations, but in real partnership with our customers, trying to help them be more successful. And I promise you this, having spent 20 years in a manufacturing facility in the state of California, very unique experience. If anybody here ever enjoyed sort of the California regulatory environment, thank you, and my deepest condolences for having navigated that landscape, but a very rigid view of the universe. And not only that, having the facility that I was part of right downtown, nestled between sort of the cruise ship terminal and the airport, and literally our storm drains go right out into San Diego Harbor. We have sort of the last storm drain right before the harbor. And so always a meaningful focus, always sort of trying to help the regulators, if you will, understand what's possible. And we've always been a huge advocate of installing best available technology. And in many ways, there's many companies in California that aren't Solar Turbine fans, because we will invest in the latest. And then once the latest is proven out, California will very quickly adopt the latest, regardless of the cost or expense or even availability to other companies as well. So a real core value at the enterprise level, sustainability. And this is just, my boss is the company's sustainability officer, and board of directors level oversight. It is a senior level position, the chief sustainability officer, and it really is. You can imagine in today's world, when you're a company like Caterpillar, or I would say, a company like Solar, and trying to make sure that you're helping people understand their purpose in the workplace, making sure that we're constantly communicating the value that we bring. And yes, at the end of the tailpipe of our products comes out carbon dioxide, and we're always working on fuel efficiency to be able to generate more power with less emissions. The progress that's been made on the particulate side of the emissions stream has been nothing short of miraculous. And I know this as part of my role in Solar Turbines. I had hundreds of PhDs in the engineering organization working on eking out that last bit of particulate matter from our exhaust stream. So meaningful focus, meaningful commitment at the corporate level to do that. And some wonderful accomplishments. I mean, if you want to sort of understand, you can talk about all of the things that you're planning on doing, but nothing will give you a better view than the rear view mirror on what's been accomplished. So if you see up there, just from a pure employee safety point of view, and this is since 2018. So we have some new goals that point to 2030, but a 50% reduction in employee injury rates, 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from our own internal operations across the corporation. And that's since 2018. Okay. Water, California, we use cooling towers and things like that in some of our operations. And we've been able, I just know in our world, we've been able to save over 50 million gallons a year from the operation that I was accountable for in San Diego. When you talk about really trying to manage water usage. It's a huge undertaking, but a lot of investment. And, look, it's interesting thing about the water side too. My team came to me in California and said, look, we want to go to a glycol system for some of our, as we generate shop air, we use a lot of compressed air. And it was a glycol system. And we spent about, give or take, probably about $1 million outfitting everything. We saved like $9 of water. When you're a big industrial company, you pay so little, and that was in California. And then you suffer the indignity in a place like California. You reduce your usage, and then they take a baseline snapshot, and then they mandate that you have a certain amount of water reduction usage, and they give you no credit. If you had knocked your water consumption down 95% in the 5 years prior, and if you get caught wrong in the snapshot, but a lot of these things that our enterprise does, I promise you, some of them are wonderful returns. You get your money back in 7 months and you keep the dividend in perpetuity, but many of them are not money-making activities. They're just the right thing to do. And so we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, and we spend a lot of our capital on things that they're just the right thing to do. Water is one, okay? If you look at product additions and the changes that we made, and I'll talk about some of that as sort of I go through. The one I'll highlight here only because it was, I've got such deep experience with it from solar, and I'm putting some internal pressure on my team internally, is remanufacturing. So if you take a turbine, take an engine, one of our reciprocating engines, it'll be out there in the world for 25 to 40 years, right? And these things will run forever. They'll get repurposed a bunch of times, but about every, our engines, about every 8,000 hours, they need a little bit of love. They need a little bit of, parts replaced. On the gas turbine side, it was about 30,000 operating hours. And we would bring back a turbine, or in case we would get our components back, and we go through a remanufacturing process. I can speak in detail at the turbine side of our business. When we remanufacture a turbine and we send somebody, they send us their turbine, we rebuild it, put it back out to them with, basically a new warranty with new operating characteristics. 3/4 of that material is exactly what they sent us back. We're managing to reuse 3/4 of those parts. Now that's wonderful from us. That's one of those. That's not water. That's a wonderfully internally profitable activity for us. It's a wonderful cost savings to our customers. But when you think about what's not going in the landfill and not having to sort of remake those parts, where you do a little grind, you do a little build back up, you do a little finish, and you can get that product back out there. And in many cases, we can send the customer the upgraded version of the product that they return to us. You send it back to us, you say, I want the latest and greatest emissions characteristics on that product. We managed to reuse 75% of what you sent us. There are some parts that need replacing. If you've ever seen what comes out of a 30,000 hour use turbine, you get about half the first stage blade back. Some things just get consumed in the operational status, but a wonderful opportunity for our customers, for the enterprise, from a profitability, from a regulatory, from an emissions point of view. I mean, there are so many win-wins out there that remanufacturing is an area. If you and your company don't have the opportunity or aren't taking advantage of the opportunity, a tremendous thing. And then, just obviously safety across the board. And again, just, if you see here some other deliverables, some milestones, and this is, if you look at just on the right hand side, the middle one, this is Caterpillar reman. So this is on the engine and the equipment side, 140 million pounds of material brought back and repurposed. And I know on the solar turbine side, we do about 1,000 overhauls a year. Each engine weighs between 15 and 35 tons. So if you think about just the energy saved and not having to recreate all of those haptic, all of that hardware, all of those forages, all of that product. Just a tremendous, tremendous opportunity and faster, better, cheaper, clean. What a wonderful, what a wonderful sentence when all of those words make sense in the same sentence. Energy transition, right? If you think about energy transition, just all of the infrastructure that has to go on. Natural gas, I've spoken about natural gas a little bit. Really the ability to liquefy and distribute natural gas it's going to create, I would say a 30 to 50 year opportunity for the world to continue to move in the right direction. There's a wonderful opportunity to displace, other fuel types that are just less desirable, if you will. And even, we talk about reciprocating engine. We have teams and fleets and hundreds around probably thousands of combustion engineers around the company working hard, making sure that we can do it. It just, you think about just one small advantage. Our products in many ways have the ability to burn what we call associated gas. Now, you get oil out of the ground, it doesn't come out pure oil, it comes out, it sort of burps some gas along with whatever liquids come out. And it takes a lot of electricity to sort of run production. And we have the ability to basically tap into that stream of associated gas, where traditionally what would happen is you would just line up fleets and fleets and fleets of diesel trucks, and you would truck in from wherever you needed to bring it in. A perpetual line of trucks bringing in diesel. And now you have the ability to not need that diesel, but to fairly cleanly burn that associated gas and on-site generate the electricity that you need to further produce the energy, whether it be for fracking or other activities. Well, natural gas and sort of associated gas and alternative fuels, hydrogen. And there's raging debates around hydrogen. One side will say, by the time I use spare electricity to generate hydrogen and then to store the hydrogen and then to compress and move the hydrogen and then to, consume the hydrogen. It's like a 2% efficient round trip, right? But on the other side, there's no carbon associated with it. If you can use it sort of locally, that there is a tremendous opportunity for hydrogen. I'm not quite sure where it will find its exact niche. But hydrogen is certainly one of the things I think that will bridge us to the future until we manage to turn the photon right into the electron, so to speak, and manage it that way. And grid reliability. We all hear the stories. Look, one of the wonderful things about California is if you ever wanted to be a comedian, there's plenty of content that comes from the local government. So for example, we get into these flex alerts. And this was the flex, it was on Monday at noon, California by 2035, no more internal combustion engine vehicles sold. We're going full electric, right? Everybody get on board, standing ovation. 11 minutes later, the press release comes out. Hey, sorry, the grid's under a little bit of stress. It's illegal to charge your electric vehicle for the next 72 hours. 2 press releases, 11 minutes apart, okay? So the world will figure it out, right? But it's gonna take a portfolio of clean energy to get us from today to where we need to be. There's no instant answer, there's no easy answer, but there is a wonderful portfolio of emerging opportunity and alternatives that are coming that would really allow us to make meaningful progress. Okay, and then we set a goal as an enterprise, as a global company. The goal was, as we invest our couple of $2 billion a year of research and development, we want to make sure that we're very, how would you say, focused on where it goes and how it gets invested and why it gets invested. And the reality is that, when you look at our product evolution, 100% of our product investment is the next generation, cleaner, more energy efficient than the prior generation. We're really doing well. Each time we get, and it gets harder and harder and harder each time. We have gas turbines that on a NOx, we're down to 3 to 5 parts per million. And we still make the old variant, an old variant of a product is 250 to 500 parts per million. And the new one is 3. Now, you're much closer to 0 now than you were before. Right, and I tease our engineers, look, your job is to make an air filter now, right? I want 5 ppm from the atmosphere to go in, and I want 3 to come out, and our products are getting down to that level of sophistication that we are now down. Now, still, it's going to take energy efficiency to get at the carbon dioxide piece, right? Because that's just a natural byproduct of combustion that you can't do much about except be more fuel efficient. But on the particulate side, we have really 20 years ago, people would have said that the levels we're achieving now were quite honestly not achievable. So tremendous progress through the product range. I already talked about the 140 million pounds. I know it deeply, I encourage my team all the time to go dumpster diving. Okay, it was kind of something I would look, we can do better, right? Fair enough. We know how to salvage 50% of these parts. What do we need to do to make that number 75%? And there is a lot of investment. I just know for my humble little office in San Diego, I put about $20 million a year into developing and iterating our repair processes to be able to use a greater and greater percent. And again, those are easy business decisions. Faster, better, cheaper, cleaner, safer. So wonderful opportunities there. Here you had alluded to, and we did a lot of this in San Diego. We do a lot of testing. We do a lot of endurance testing. We say our engines will run 30,000 hours between overhaul. We have customers who will run our engines for 4,000 hours consecutive, turn them off, change the oil, run for 4,000 hours, and they will do that until they hit 35,000 hours, unplug it, and send it back to us. And we will do testing like that. We have the ability in Lafayette, as well as in San Diego, we can connect to the grid. And now California doesn't pay me to send power to the grid. I pay them. I have to pay an export charge to send my power to the grid. We would do things like in those power emergencies, we would turn on our gas turbines and we would send 40 megawatts free to the city to help keep the lights on. We have similar capability for our endurance testing in Lafayette, where we can consume the power locally. I don't know if we can export, but so we go into, so we reduce our inbound grid load by generating and putting all the appropriate switch gear so we can consume that power on site. Okay, just a wonderful thing. We actually got fined from the government of California. The mayor of San Diego called us up and asked us if we could export, and then the regulatory authorities in California fined us for exporting at the request of the San Diego mayor. Okay. California's I'm happy to be in Indiana. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Okay. We put out a sustainability report. If you want more detail, it'll hit some highlights. It'll talk about goals. It'll talk about 2030. Okay, so it's something we go through great efforts internally to have meaningful accomplishments and set bold goals. And then obviously, if you're having some level of success, obviously you want to share it with the world as well. And sustainability. It's difficult to get new grads to tolerate the cost of living in San Diego, right? San Diego is now the third most expensive housing market in the country. Okay, but we have a wonderful sustainability story both at Caterpillar as well as Solar Turbines, and we get a lot of people who just can't wait to come in and work on those types of products for the future. And then I'm not going to I'll click through this pretty quickly, but this was just there. If sometimes you got to be careful you don't believe your own press. And so what independent third-party people think isn't the only measure, but it is a measure. And we get meaningful accolades on occasion from the world at large for some of the activities that we undertake, some of the investments that we make, and some of the results that we achieve. So that's for that, just for that. And then I would say if I do some soul searching and you set everything aside, you know, the real reason I think Caterpillar has been able to be as successful in the product iteration, we have deep relationships with customers. And all we're doing in the most simplistic way is listening to our customers and understanding what they need from us. So they're more successful with us than they are with our competitors. You know, and if you can build those relationships where they're willing to tell you what they need a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if you listen deep enough and you invest intelligently enough, your customers will sort of show you the way. Okay, so that was, I think that's the end of the prepared content. They're happy to field any and all questions that you have. I gotta wait out crowded, so. Please.
You're talking about measuring engagement with employees as a way to measure your sustainability success.
Yeah.
And I saw on the last slide, you had, you know, America's, you know, best places to work and those things. But, what were the observed actions that you saw that was the biggest influence to that measure?
Yeah, you know, I would say this, and I've got my, you know, the guy walking to the paparazzi in the corner is the communications guy. You know, young folks don't know, right? I mean, you know, we have to be out there telling our story. You know, if you sit back and if you took your information from the news, you would think places like Caterpillar should be shut down, right? I mean, there is such a fear from the other side, right? Now, solar, we were 80% oil and gas, 20% power generation. Our oil and gas customers hide in fear of telling a sustainability story. So we have great messages to send. We have massive progress that we've made. It is a journey in progress. It is a lifelong activity. But when you can help people understand the facts as opposed to the hyperbole and the propaganda, and you can tell a more balanced story. And I think industry is just finally starting to figure out, you know, and I would say it probably comes first in California because the regulatory push, like they're trying to ban natural gas in San Diego, like no more natural gas. We meet with the mayor, right? I've met with the mayor of San Diego and I've met with the governor of California, I don't know, 25 times. And when you can clearly articulate that, they're like, well, that's not what they're telling me, right? You know, if you think about, take a Midwest state, you take natural gas out, you can't heat it with electricity in the winter, right? I mean, there's just certain things that are impossible to achieve. So knowing your message, first of all, making sure that you've done the right work to have a good message, right? Because anybody can see through the smoke screen. But when we do a good job of clearly articulating a balanced message, we make progress with our younger employees. You know, the old folks like me, we know it, right? We came from a different time. We weren't subjected to sort of the bias in the general public communications. But our younger employees, they just don't have that perspective. And so help them with the perspective. That's been the biggest piece on my side. You know, people love to come out and, you know, they'll say, well, what about these 12 things? And I'm like, 11 of them are completely untrue. And you have to work through, you know, it's a challenge. Right? I'm the guy from corporate, right? So I'm the last one they're going to believe. Okay. But customer testimonials really are much more impactful than the guy who's in charge of engineering, you know? So I don't know if that answers it. Comments, questions? All right, well, thank you, everybody, for the opportunity.
So we're gonna take a short break, till 10:30, and then we'll have another presentation, with Lindsay Dell, from Caterpillar. And so enjoy the rest of the snacks, water, stretch, visit. Go. My chair, like,
Get on there. Yeah.
We still, we stopped recording.
waiting period. So we'll be just a moment. We'll get started with Lindsay. We'll do the presentation, we get the microphone, and then we'll do a lunch. We're gonna extend the lunch just a little bit longer for that. And then we'll get started with the safety videos, getting ready for the tour down the street just after that. So appreciate everybody's flexibility. We moved the schedule around a little bit, but I think we'll be just fine on time and we'll be able to get to do all the things that we want to do.
I forgot I was gonna pull people up for lunch. I don't want to do.
Don't worry, you don't worry.
Not want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Great. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. So my name is Lindsay Delp. I am a fluid specialist here at Caterpillar. Work with our corporate fluid and filters group. And just a little bit about my background. I'm born and raised here in Indiana, went to Purdue. Graduated with a degree in chemistry. I went to work for a chemical company for about 10 years. And then I was lucky enough to join Caterpillar 8 years ago now. And most of my time has been spent in operations in the plant that you'll get to see later today. But most recently, I'm with the Fluids and Filters Group. I'm responsible for technical responsibilities for our fuels and our reviews worldwide. So I've been asked to talk about this. Hello, Nancy?
There you go.
Great. So I've been asked to talk today about what we're doing with our product sustainability, the engines that we're making. here at Caterpillar in Lafayette, and worldwide. So, our customers are on, the world really is on a journey, with energy transition, where we're going away from established fossil fuels, established power sources, looking for lower carbon intensity options, to help the environment, to lower impact on climate change. So Caterpillar is excited, to be a part of the technologies and solutions, to bring those to our customers to help make, this a more sustainable world. So, we've been on this journey for quite some time now. So dating back to, Dan was talking about solar, back in 1985, we were producing gas turbines there that were capable of running on hydrogen blends. Right here in Lafayette, we see the plant later today. We make diesel engines, we make natural gas engines. A lot of those engines back in the 90s were capable of running on biofuels. We've been 25 years now on a journey to produce an autonomous mining trucks, large mining trucks. It's been about 10 years since we've had hybrid technologies with our excavators. And then we continue to make improvements year after year with our emissions technology. And most recently, we've acquired a company, Carbon Point Solutions, where we do carbon capture technologies now too. We continue to invest in advanced power solutions and technologies. So on the left side of the screen here, these are solutions that our customers can use now. So I've got our engines now, we're not gonna go replace them all tomorrow. You can use low carbon intense fuels in our engines today. Biodiesel, HVO, GTL, hydrogen blends, and the natural gas engines. Our customers can make an impact on the environment today, help them reach their sustainability goals. And then on the right side, those are emerging technologies with batteries, with hydrogen fuel cells. This is the future of our industry, and then merge those two together with a hybrid powertrains, electric drive technologies. And then we also have microgrid technologies where you can use renewable energy sources like hydropower, solar power, wind power, and combine those into with our electric power system for this. So this is where I work. A lot of my time is in the alternative fuels space. So the two most common fuels that you'll see available worldwide are biodiesel and HVO. They get called in a lot of different names. So biodiesel, you can hear it referred to as FAME, it's fatty acid methyl ester, and HVO, if you're depending on where you're on the world, you can hear it called renewable diesel. Hydrogenated vegetable oil, that's just what HVO stands for. Both of these are made with animal fats or vegetable oils. So depending on where you are in the world, if you're getting biodiesel from the Midwest, it's probably going to be soy-based. If you're getting it from Indonesia, it's going to be made with palm oil. There's places in the country that use cooking oils and fats to make these products. So these are all renewable generated products that are available worldwide. So with biodiesel, it goes through a transesterification process. Basically, it's turned into an ester. It's reacted. You can make these in your house. The person that I replaced actually made this on their kitchen stovetop. I've not tried it yet, but it can be done. So this is readily available. We can use these in our engines up to 100%. It depends on after treatment. You've got usually, because the process is so simplified, you've got higher metal content, so you may not be able to use it with your after treatment. It just depends, but it can be used up to 100% blended with diesel fuel. And then we have HVO, which is a different process, but starting with the biomass as well. That uses a hydrotreatment process. It creates a paraffin. It's a very pure fuel. It can be used up to 100% or blended with diesel at any level. You can blend biodiesel and HBO and diesel in that engine. So it just depends on what's available. There's incentives in different parts of the country. Tax incentives to use biodiesel in Illinois or Iowa, for example. So you see it more readily available there, but it is available worldwide. So just a little bit more on our experience with renewable diesel. A couple of years ago, we ran a back-to-back test with our gensets. This genset's produced here in Lafayette, so you can see one of these later today. We ran this with diesel fuel, and then we ran it with HVO. We had nearly half the smoke. There's a white paper out there. You can see all the results from it, but a couple highlights for this group had nearly half the smoke generated from it. Nearly the same NOx, but slightly reduced at lower load. And this again is a renewable source. So you've got lower carbon intensity in the fuel that you're using, and you get the benefit on the emission side as well. So those are some of the, like I said, the things that our customers can use now, and I'm gonna go into what is next. So hydrogen experience, we have a lot of experience, like Dan mentioned, with hydrogen already. Continue to use higher and higher blends and create products that can use higher and higher blends of hydrogen. So this is just a few products that we have out there that kind of show the power range from 0.4 to 4 megawatt in power. So these are high power applications that we can use hydrogen in. And you can also, we have kits available. Some gensets you can blend up to 25% hydrogen with their methane gas. These two logos are engines that we make here in Lafayette, so maybe able to see these later today. The one on the left is our DGB. It's a dynamic gas blend engine. It can run with natural gas and diesel, so it's used a lot in the oil and gas industry. And then on the right is one of our gensets that is kind of the tech demo stage right now, but it's going to be able to run on 100%. Now, one thing I'll say, if you're not very familiar with hydrogen right now, it can be produced a lot of different ways. There's different colors of hydrogen. If you've ever heard of the colors of hydrogen, right now, gray hydrogen is 90% of what you're going to find on the market, and that is produced with fossil fuels. So it's not a sustainable solution today that's readily available, but there are investments being made in the production of blue hydrogen, green hydrogen, and green hydrogen uses water to produce the hydrogen so that there's no carbon dioxide emissions at all. So what we're doing at Caterpillar is getting our products ready so that when the green hydrogen, the blue hydrogen, the sustainable hydrogen sources are available, our customers can use those to lower their carbon intensity. Ethanol. This is something that we are developing right now, the technologies to be able to use methanol. We see this as a great solution for the marine industry in particular. There are multiple paths to renewable production. Again, like hydrogen, most of what you see right now is not produced sustainably out in the marketplace. So what you're going to get most likely is going to have come from natural gas production, but there are potentials to create this from biomass, much like the current fuels I talked about. So once the industry get there, the investments are made, this is more readily available, we're going to have the products ready to provide methanol as a fuel in our engines. We think it's good for the marine industry because, you know, it's liquid storage, similar handling to gasoline. It's something that you can handle when you're out on a boat, on a tug, you know, in the middle of the ocean. And then a little bit about our battery electric equipment. So these are all, this is all equipment that we have out there today, our customers are using in very high power applications. So we have our underground mining loader, which you can imagine These are underground, not well ventilated areas, so to have something that has zero exhaust emissions is very critical for those kind of applications. We have locomotives that are zero exhaust emissions as well. And then energy storage solutions as well that can be used for grid stability. And then under development, just the range of the Caterpillar portfolio. So I mentioned locomotives already, large mining trucks, small construction equipment that you're going to see, on 65 when you're driving down or driving back home, anything to stationary power. And Dan mentioned already, but we do design our products for second life use, third life use, fourth life use, that remanufacturing products process. So that's part of our commitment to sustainability. As well. And then this, Justin had some better photos of this earlier, but this is our large mining truck, and we just showed availed last year the first battery electric large mining truck. So this is if you remember the photo of Justin standing in front of it, this is a very large mining truck. So it's pretty impressive. I'm certainly in awe of it. And this was done in our proving grounds in Arizona. And since then, we made a commitment to make the proving grounds kind of electrified stations. We're going to have solar energy, we're going to have wind energy, we're going to have hydrogen fuel cells, power generators that can run on hydrogen storage, charging stations. So we're basically going to have a setup of an electrified mining site, so we can learn firsthand what our customers can do in the future to make mining more sustainable. I think that's all I had. The takeaway here that I'm hoping to give is we don't think there's one solution that's gonna take over for fossil fuels in the future. We think depending on our customer, depending on where they are, depending on the application, it's gonna be different. There's still some things under development with hydrogen creation and methanol, but we're doing whatever we can to make sustainable solutions for our customers, to help them achieve their sustainability goals and help Caterpillar achieve our sustainability goals. Questions?
This is a little out there, but the environmental means wonders gasoline versus methanol. Is that any worse for the environment if we have a spill in the marine?
Not necessarily, but there's a lot of studies on that. But it would be similar. Generically speaking, it would be. I think we had on that slide. It's the environmental impact. Yeah, it's give and take, right? But it's it's kind of a give and take. You get the advantages of being a lower carbon intensity, especially if you're making from biomass sources. So you've been good in there, but yeah.
Thank you.
Can you expand on the different methods to produce the hydrogen, pros and cons, cost?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have all my colors memorized, but gray hydrogen, which is 90% of what you're going to see out in the marketplace right now. Gray hydrogen is produced with fossil fuels. So you have to be careful if you buy hydrogen right now. You may think that it's lower carbon intensity overall, right? But you got to think of how it's produced. There are a lot of agencies that are coming up with how you calculate your carbon intensity fuels from the whole life cycle, right? So that's all depends on where you are. It's all in development, but you need to look at that whole picture. There's brown hydrogen that's made with coal. There's I think there's at least 8 different colors of hydrogen, but green hydrogen is what we're hoping the investments are made towards. That would use water to create the hydrogen so that it would have zero carbon dioxide emissions production process. And then there's blue hydrogen, which would use some carbon, but much lower intensity. And it would actually use carbon capture, so that you don't have the emissions. So I think there's pink carbon, there may be purple, I have no idea what all the colors are, but yeah, you gotta watch how it's produced. Questions? Thank you very much. Oh, right, one on the back side.
Transportation, you work with the companies that would transport your products or transport raw goods to you, as far as the use of alternative fuels.
Like is our finished products, like the way they get Lafayette, like how they get to our customers, is that the question?
Yeah, I think at one point, they may still do it, Subaru was, worked with one of their transport companies, I don't recall their name. They were actually up for, I think it was Super Governors Award, I think there may be a facility up in the exit here, that has methane, that, some of the trucks that are fuel with methane. And I think they looked at, what these routes would go and how far they could go on a little bit of methane. I don't know if you do something comparable as far as transport trucks coming on site to deliver or to take materials away.
Well, that's a great idea. Not that I'm aware of. But it's something we can think about as an idea. Thank you.
Great presentations, information, and everybody good questions. Things that we think of other things, please ask them. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. Want to thank our Zoom participants for being on and being able to join today. Same for you. If there's questions, please send and work to get those answers. I do want to remind everybody about an evaluation. If you're able, should only take a few moments to do, this way we can enhance, add to or streamline these meetings. Next we'll do a lunch, it'll be Italian buffet with soup and salad. And during the lunchtime, about 11:45 to 12, we'll have the safety presentation as we get ready for the tour. If you have any questions, please see somebody from the question about the safety video. It is required to have closed toe shoes, safety glasses, and hearing protection. So if you need the second of the two, I think they'll be able to help us out with those. And then we'll drive to the location and then start the tour. So again, thank you very much for that, and for Gian and Ida and the committee for putting this together. Before you leave, either before the tour or if you're not going to the tour, please turn in your name badges at the registration desk. We do recycle those, reuse rather, for that. Thanks.